Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, let's begin the day by giving charity. Charity. Tzedakah tatzil mimovos. Charity saves from all the bad things in the world, and it brings all the good things in the world. Sion b'mishpat tabarim v'shaveh v'tzedakah. The Jewish people will be redeemed with giving charity. So let's do it. Here we go. It's always good to do a command with your right hand, if you're right-handed. Ready? Here we go. Charity. Okay. Good. Okay. Now, let's begin learning. This is also for a Refuah Shlema. Give another coin over here. A complete recovery for my grandson, Menachem Mendel ben Chaim, Menachem Mendel ben Dvora Zahava. Chaim Menachem Mendel ben Dvora Zahava, a Refuah Shlema. Okay. Good. Now we're learning in this week's Torah portion of Nitzavim v'Yelech. It's a double Torah portion this week. Nitzavim v'Yelech. It's always read right before Rosh HaShana. Right before Rosh HaShana. Nitzavim v'Yelech. In the area of Rosh HaShana. Okay, so this is Moses is speaking to the Jewish people right before they go into the land of Israel. And he's saying, no, you're all standing today in front of God, all of you, and God is going to make a covenant with you. Another covenant. Made a covenant in Mount Sinai, and now he's making another covenant. Just to make sure the Jewish people know who their friend really is, the creator of the universe. So it says that you're all standing today. One of the reasons is, Rashi says, that you just heard 98 curses from Parshat Kitavo, 90 curses. So you might think, how could anyone stand these? Therefore, it's the next Torah portion says, Atem Nesavim. Don't worry about it. You're standing. You'll still remain standing. You don't have to worry about it. The curses are terrible, but they're meant only to scare you. Okay. Okay, here we go. Ready? Here we go. So it says, let's make this bigger and we'll begin. Atem nitzavim hayom. Now, by the way, what are we reading from? These are taken from speeches given by the first Lubavitcher Rebbe about 250 years ago. And he began the whole Chabad movement. And in case you don't know, especially because we just celebrated his birthday on Shabbat, his birthday and the birthday of the founder of the Hasidic movement, the Baal Shem Tov. And essentially, what Hasidut comes to teach is how infinitely close God is to us. And at the same time, how infinitely distant he is from any comprehension of ours, simultaneously, infinitely close, how infinitely important this world is to him, to God, and what we do in it especially what the Jewish people do in it, the world, and how important it is to have the proper leader, the Rebbe, because who's writing this? Is the Rebbe is writing it. So the Jewish people without a proper leader, Moses, like it says when the Jewish people went across the Yam Suf, what do they call it, the Red Sea, it says they believed in God and in Moses, his servant. Without believing in Moses, you won't really believe in God. You'll have your own idea what God is. And you won't come to serve him with love and with happiness, with joy. So that's these three things teach us the greatness of God and how close God is to us and how he cares about us. Number two, how important the world is to God and everyone in it, every human being. And number three, the necessity of having a Rebbe, of having a Moses. So we're reading here the words of Moses that's going to link together the world with us. And we'll see how important this world is. Here we go. Let's go. Ready? Yes. It says, Atem nitzavim ayom kulchem. You are standing today, all of you, in front of God, your God. Hine, behold, Parsha Zo, this Torah portion, Korim La'olam, it's always read, Kodam Rosh HaShana, before Rosh HaShana. Umrumaz, and it's hinting at the Milat, this is hinted at by the Milat Hayom. It says, you are standing today, all of you. Because it didn't have to say that in the Torah. Now you have to remember that the Torah is written by God. God, the creator of the universe, actually wrote a book, personally. He personally wrote a book, and that book is the Torah. And he gave it to the Jewish people on Sinai through Moses. The first two of the 10 commandments, the Jews heard directly from God. It says their whole souls jumped out of their bodies. But nevertheless, God is creating you right now. You're being created. Did you know that you're being created? Well, you are being created. And it doesn't make any difference when you're watching this video. You're being created right now. The whole world is being created constantly by God. And you're being created for a reason. You're not here just accidentally. And you are very important to God. And this is, to know what this means, the implications, what you're supposed to do, that's why we have the Torah. This Torah portion is read always before Rosh Hashanah, and it's hinted at by the word Hayom, today. Today, when it says today, it means Rosh Hashanah. That's one of the meanings. Rosh Hashanah. Now, what is Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is no other religion, race, nationality, and country has such a holiday of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is New Year's Day. New Year's Day. No one else has New Year's Day. He says, well, first of all, it's not called New Year's Day. It's called Head of the Year Day. And it's the day that God finished creating the world, 6th day of creation. No other religion, race, whatever it is, the nationality, group, secret group, whatever you want to call it, even care when the world was created. What do they care? And we Jews, we not only care, we know, and we care when the world was created, but we even have, that's our New Year's Day. To be more exact, the 6th day of creation when man was created. So that refers to Rosh Hashanah. We celebrate this every year because if it wasn't for that day, we wouldn't be here. I mean, first of all, the world wouldn't be here, but the main thing is man wouldn't be here. This is really the day of the beginning of your deed, God. Zichron Liyom Rishon, it's a remembrance, and for that first day. What's the first day? When God started creating the world. Right? God started creating the world. He did it on his own. The 6th day of creation, God created man. And on that day, he put the world into the hands of man. God became his partner. God's partner. Shekol nitzutzei neshamus. On this day, all of the sparks of all of the souls, nitzavim, are standing on mitalim and elevating the makoram and their source of rishon b'yom zeh on this day. Ad lifnei Hashem, until before, it says before God. What does it mean? Standing right before God. Now, there's a general principle that souls really never die. But when we say souls never die, it means a lot of things. There's some souls, for instance, that they retain their personality and they never die. There's tzaddikim that the same exact personality as they have in this world, the soul is ingrained with that same personality because it used every fiber of his personality to connect to the Torah, and the Torah is eternal. So the souls never die. But even more so, every body, all of the bodies that serve God, that's the idea of the raising of the dead. The bodies themselves also never really die. Okay, but on this day, all the sparks of the souls, the essence of the soul, why the soul came into this world to be put into a body, all of the souls from all time, the souls that were in Egypt, the souls that died in the desert, the souls that died in the Holocaust, all the souls up to now, they're all standing in front of God. It says, Michotei Beitzecha, this is written in the Torah. It says, you are standing today, all of you, in front of God, from your wood choppers until the drawers of water. Right? It says says Roshechem, that your heads of the tribes, which are the highest of the Jews that really connect themselves with all of their being to God, and the wood choppers that they connect themselves to chopping wood and drawing water. They don't care about anything, but they're Jews, as that they have a Jewish soul, and they're all standing on Rosh HaShana, realizing who they are. It says, if you look in the Torah, it details Eser Madrigos, 10 levels. Roshechem, Shiftechem, right? There's 7 more in between. It says there's 10 levels, that just like there are 10 levels of the soul of every person, namely 3 aspects of intellect and 7 aspects of emotions. We said Chabad. Remember, we learned the 10 Sfirot. We've learned that a lot of times. Well, every human being is made in the image of God. That's one of the meanings. What it means, just like God manifests himself in 10 aspects, 10, what do you call it, essential aspects of God's revelation, which these are infinite aspects by God, but by us, they're finite. That's what it means. We're made in God's image. How can we be made in God's image? God is infinite. It says, well, the fact is, yes, God is infinite, but he has 10 infinite aspects of his being, God. That's the 10 utterances that God used to create the world, or the 10 commandments, right? Also corresponds to that number 10. The same thing is, there's here these 10 levels of Jewish souls that are enumerated here in this week's sentence. Here, let's just read the sentence exactly so that everybody sees what it is. Ready? I'll just read it for you instead of looking for it and finding it, which is a doubt if I'll find it or if I will find it. I won't find it. Let's see, 1 second. Here we go. Here it says, Atem nitzavim ayom chuchem livnei Hashem Elohechem. There it goes. I just passed. It's a short Torah portion. Here we go. This says, Roshechem, your heads, Shiftei Ziknechem, Shotrechem, Kol Yisrael, Tapchem, Neshechem, right? Your children, the women, and the convert Gercha that lives in your, from the drawers of wood, from the choppers of wood until the drawers of water. So if you enumerate all those, you can get 10 different aspects, 10 different levels. Okay. It says, Kach hine kol Yisrael, all the Jewish people, they are all standing together, just like all of these 10 aspects of our soul makes up one person. And the 10 aspects of God, it still is just an expression of one God. And so it is all the different types of Jews that there are in the world. It's just like one big body. One big body. That's why, for instance, when God said to Moses, go into Paro and tell him, my son, my chosen one, B'ni B'chori, my son, my chosen one, right? When it's referred to in the prophets, that God's son or God, the suffering one or something, it's talking about the Jews. The Jews are like one person. It says, and Rosh HaShana, this is manifested. All the Jews are like one body, but Kololos and the Shemoseim, and all of these souls all together, they're called Knesset Yisrael. Knesset means the gathering of the Jews. Knesset means they're all gathered together. That it's divided into 10 different levels, 10 different facets of different types of Jews. And of course, each type is divided into 10, and each those subdivided, and each person is divided into 10. But nevertheless, and Rosh Hashanah, all of these divisions and these facets and these sparks of Jewish souls, and from all the generations, they're all elevated, all of the levels. They go to the highest of highest levels because they're all creations of God. And there's only one God. And on one hand, God is infinitely close to us. He creates us. But on the other hand, God is infinitely distant from us. He creates the highest spiritual levels are just like nothing to him. So it says, even Chotev Etzecha, therefore, because God is infinitely high and higher than anything, so therefore everyone is equal in front of God, from the wood choppers until those who draw water, that they are the lowest levels of Jews. 1 second, let's do this over here. 1 second. 1 minute. Oh, Liot Kulam Mitalim, and all of them become elevated, Lamaila, B'Mokar Chutzvam, in their source. In their source. So in other words, what does it mean? Like giving identity. That's the point. Giving identity. I know it's a terrible example, but it's a stunning example, right? In Germany, when the Nazis stood up, so there was a guy, I don't like to mention his name. So he was the big leader of the Nazis, right? And he just stood in front of everyone and said, "You know who you really are. You are Germans. You are." And everybody said, "Yeah, that's right. That's who I am," right? And you are. No one knows who you are, but I know who you are. And this is, and all of a sudden, everyone said, "Yeah, it's right. I'm a German. I got this amazing past." And they made up all sorts of past things that they did, and they gave them an identity. And we are the rightful owners of the whole world. And all of a sudden, everybody got inspired. Doesn't make any difference what type of a German you are, whether you're a street sweeper or whatever it is, right? Or you're the biggest professor in the world. You are, right, supposed to take over the world. So all of a sudden, everybody got inspired, right? Because identity, that's who I really am, right? You just feel this is it. This is my soul. I'm living for this purpose. Okay, it was a false purpose. It was a false purpose, but nevertheless, it was a purpose, and it was using a lot of true things. It was a lot of true things. Those people, they were the Germans that were really intelligent and cultured and all these other things. So suddenly everyone got inspired. They got inspired, and they were convinced it was a good thing that they were doing, right? They were, this is your true identity, right? Really, basically, it's been that way. Basically, all of the enemies of the Jews from all the generation, it unified. We were going to get the Jews. We are the ones that have been chosen, and to get the Jews. The Jews are God's people, and we are special, and we are going to make a war against God, and we're going to show who the ruler of the world is. And unity. This is my identity. Well, that's for bad. That's why I said I don't like to bring the example, but still, it wakens something up inside of a person. It doesn't make any difference how simple I am, how nothing I am, how what everybody says about me. I know what I really am. I am and then you fill in the blank. But the fact is that everybody does have what's supposed to be the identity of everybody in the world. They're all creations of God. Everyone is a creation of God. And they're created exactly the way God wants them to be in order to improve themselves in the world. That's the way it's supposed to be. It begins with the Jewish people. So on Rosh HaShana, that's when God, the first man, was created. And from him came all human beings. And the first man, by the way, was a Jew. He was supposed to be the father of the Jewish people. It says in the Tanya that God blew this Jewish soul into his nostrils, into Adam. And that was a Jewish soul. When he sinned with the tree, as then it got confused and people started worshiping idols and all sorts of crazy things until Abraham came along. And Abraham came along to fix it. That was Abraham. But in order to do this, you have to have a certain degree of, self-sacrifice. You have to forget about your worries. You have to realize your true identity is your creator and not think about going to heaven and what I'm going to receive from this. And on Rosh Hashanah, everyone thinks how good I am. I am being created by God. And the whole past year, it could be I messed the whole thing up and I did not do what God wanted. But here I am. I'm being created by God and I'm a Jew. And that means everything starts to true identity. Everything gets elevated to its true source. V'zeh, that's what it means by Yehu Yeshurun Melech. There wasn't Yeshurun. Another word for Yeshurun is the Jewish people. There wasn't Yeshurun, a king, but Isasef Rosh Am. When there was gathered the heads of the people together, all of the tribes of Israel were all together. What does it mean? That all of them are gathered together to be united. That's Rosh Hashanah. Atem Nitzavim. Suddenly everyone has an identity. I know who I am. You're not here just a nobody. This is a general principle, very important principle. The call to asim is sitra kedusha, everything that comes from the side of holiness. The end is found in the beginning. What does it mean the end is found in the beginning? It means that the simplest, lowest person, by being sincere, can reach to the highest of highest places. That's the whole reason God created the world, was for sincerity. That people should be sincere, right? Sincerely connected to your Creator. And that's what it means. Even the most simple of simple people, when they're sincere, that reaches the highest of highs, right? And the same thing also, the highest essence of God from the before the world was created. What did he create the world for? For simple people in this world. So even if you're a tremendous Talmud Chacham, I think I told the story a lot of times, but I'll tell it again. Someone went into the Rebbe. This person was like a professor in mathematics, and he was also a religious Jew. The Rebbe always used to say, you don't say that way. You say, I'm a religious Jew, or I'm a Jew, and I'm also a professor. The main thing, your main identity is you're a Jew. Anyway, he went into the Rebbe, and he started talking to the Rebbe about science and this and that. And then he talked to the Rebbe about Torah. And he came out and they asked him, how was it by the Rebbe? He said, listen, I've never seen a person like that before in my life. A mind, such a mind. I mean, he knows science like I know science. You know, I mean, I've been learning it all my life. And Torah, he said, Torah, the man is there's nothing in the whole Torah he doesn't know. You know, every sentence in secrets, I have, you know, secrets of the Torah and the Zohar and things like that I never even heard of. And he just, you know, flows with it. He said, but when I started talking to him about God, he talks just like my grandmother. Right? So he talks just like my grandmother. Simple, right? The man was a Talmid Chacham. He was a Torah scholar, came from a religious family. Said the Rebbe is such a genius in mind, but when he talks about God, he talks about it just like some simple old lady from the street. But Zeo Klal Gadol, this is a very important thing from the side of holiness. The highest of levels is expressed in the lowest, to the degree that there's no high or low. That's in Kabbalah, it's called igulim, a ring. A ring, the top of it is connected to the bottom of it, right? Connected, so that a ring depends on every detail of the ring, right? Every detail of the ring. If the bottom is missing, it's not a ring anymore. This aspect comes from what's called Soviv Kol Olmin, an aspect of godliness which is above all limitation, all definition. And therefore, Omer Razal, the rabbis say, therefore, the rabbis say, you should be humble in front of everyone. Because there is in each and every person a level that is not in the other. And this is talking about also a non-Jew. It says, who's a wise person that learns from everybody? Everybody has something special from the highest levels of existence that you don't have. Even if it's just humility, even if it's just the simplicity, something genuine is found in everybody. Genuine love, mothers love their children, children love their parents, something genuine that can't be found, that's not created by man, and every human being is privy to it. You can see an example of pure godliness, pure love, how true friends love each other, etc. She'ein b'chavero, everybody has something that nobody has. V'kulam tzurichim zeh, and everyone needs everyone else. Now here the Rebbe is speaking especially about the Jewish people, because Rosh HaShana is the day is for the Jews. So it comes out, that there's some good quality in every single person that's above his friend. And everyone needs everybody else. So I am better than everybody else in the world, and everyone in the world is better than me. On one hand, I'm the teacher of everyone. Everyone has something to learn from me, and no one else has it. In that aspect, I'm better than everyone. Right? I have one lesson to teach 9 billion people. That makes me the greatest, right? 100%. But at the same time, I have something to learn from 9 billion people. That makes me definitely the lowest. I mean, it means I'm missing 9 billion lessons, 9 billion things I have to learn that I don't know. Right? So that makes me the lowest. Like a person, Shu Baal Koma, like a person, and that's a human being. A human being has a head and he's got feet. The feet, even though they're the lowest level, ulamata below, and the head is of course the highest. And it's of course infinitely more important than the feet, the person's head. Nevertheless, in one way, there's an advantage to the feet, namely that if you want to walk, your head cannot walk on its own. And also they make the person stand up. Right? V'harosh, and the head, the body and the head. So a person can say, what would you rather? We should chop off your head or chop off your foot. So a person would say, don't chop off either one of them. What do you want to chop off something with you? You're nuts. No, take a choice. I take a choice, and I think that you should take a bus and get out of here. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you. Okay, I see you're not cooperating. We're going to cut one off. Which one you cut off? You would fight equally for your foot as you would fight for your head. Right? Your foot for your head. Because each one is you. It's you. The foot is incomparable to the head. The foot can't see. Foot can't hear. Foot can't speak. Foot can't think. Foot doesn't make any choices. But nevertheless, the foot that's part of a person's wholeness. He's got a foot. The gam also, also when a person, sometimes when a person, this is the way it used to be, especially when a person has a big headache or something, makizim dam, they used to have bloodletting from the person's foot, and the person gets healed. And he receives life from it. It comes out that the head is not complete without the feet. The head. Also the same thing the Jewish people. The Jewish people are like one big body. So it comes out, a person that thinks in his mind that he is a level of the head, regarding someone else, he hasn't got any completion without his friend. So it comes out, if you don't want to include someone else in your world, so something is missing from your soul. Like a person that's missing one toe. So you might think it's no big deal, but the fact of the matter is, it takes away from your completeness. That everyone completes everyone else is one big body. By means of this, a person therefore will be humble in front of everybody. A person will not find a head or a foot. By means of this, this humbleness, bittul, will be unified. Lasheret Yehudo, to bring God's oneness. Shemisitra to Kedusha, without a head or a body. So if there's somebody, let's say that you can't stand, you should know that if you can't stand the person, you might have justification to do so. It says, but nevertheless, that person contains some aspect of you. And that's not really somebody else. You're one part of one big body. So that's looking at it a whole different way. I think that's what Rabbi Akiva said. It says in Mishnah, right, near Makot, it says that there's the death penalty. In Judaism, there's a death penalty. Judaism, there's a death penalty. It's very, very difficult to apply this death penalty. It doesn't exist anymore. There's no death penalty anymore. And it in fact, like, what is it? I think 200 years, before the destruction of the first temple, they stopped the death penalty. 200 years, 40 years. Anyway, before the second temple, before the end of the second temple, there was no more death penalty. And Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon also there, he said that even in the days that there was a holy temple and there was a death penalty, he said that if I was sitting on the court, no one would ever die. And it says that a court that kills somebody once every 7 years, 70 years, is called a hanging court. It's called a destroying court. It says. So, why? Because every Jew is precious, and every Jew has something that nobody else has. And this guy is a terrible sinner, and it could be he really did a sin, and he should be punished for it. But nevertheless, everybody has some good aspect. If the person is so bad, incorrigible, so you have to kill him. But nevertheless, it's a very big, a terrible thing to have to do that to a Jew, because every Jew has something to add to the world, something. So Masha Enkian, which is not the case, if you think in your mind that you're separate and you're better than everybody else, and you are a head, and this other person is low, therefore you become separated of the other side. So you see other person that you think you're better than him. So it could be that in certain aspects you are better than him. It could be you know how to learn Torah better. It could be you're stronger than he is, and it could be that you pray more. It could be that you're religious. He's not religious, right? He's not religious. There are certain aspects that he has to learn from you, right? But there's certain things that you have to learn from him, and only from him. So don't think that you got him, in every way you have put this person out of the picture. He's not in my life. If so, it means that you have separated yourself, and you're living in the world of separation. And this is a very dangerous and bad thing for the Jewish people because they can only function if they're together. Right? Like nowadays, they had this this thing where the Hezbollah they gave him these beepers, and this guy got his hand blown off, this guy got his eye blown off, this guy got his toe blown off, and this guy got this blown off. Everybody, but the main part is that if just one limb of theirs is blown up, so they can't fight anymore. So the guy didn't die, but he got his, he became deaf in both ears. He got his arm got blown up. So one little part of him is missing, so that already impairs his wholeness. So if you, so to speak, hate another Jew, it's like you've just gotten a beeper, or you beeped yourself, and you've blown off a part of your soul. Who is the part of your soul? That other person. Rosh HaShana, but on Rosh HaShana, tshuva, Rosh HaShana, everybody is together. Why? Because they return. Tshuva means you return to your true identity. Shekol is Yisrael, that all the Jews, to Shuvena, they return to their source and to their root. And in their root, they're all, I mean, you have to remember, after everything, no matter how smart you are and how great you are and how honest you are and how superior you are, and it could be you are all those things, right? But you're only a creation. You're only a creation. You're not creating yourself. Everything we have is a gift. Our whole being is a gift. Our body is a gift. Our eyes are a gift. Our soul is a gift. Our tongue is a gift. Everything is a gift. The whole world. It's an amazing miracle that God is creating. And of course, we forget about this. We look at this, okay, maybe, I'm a gift and I'm nothing, but Shmerel, he's more nothing than me, right? I'm better than him. So it says, as soon as you start thinking like that, which everybody to a certain degree thinks that. I remember Rabbi Mendel Futafas, he told me, as my teacher, he said, that the most simple job there could possibly be was to be a wagon driver. A wagon driver, they just like, at one road, they just drove back and forth. And nevertheless, what is the wagon driver? You didn't have to have any intelligence whatsoever to be a wagon driver. It's not like nowadays a taxi driver has to know something. Has to deal with people, has to deal with a wagon driver, nothing. You didn't have to know anything. You just drove and all the whole day. He says, what does he say? Wagon driver, no one hits the horses with his whip. No one snaps that whip like I do. I'm better than everybody else. And everybody likes to think they're better than everybody else in some way, right? Okay, and listen, it could be maybe he was better, but if he thinks that way in order to show how low everyone else is, that's where his identity comes from stepping on other people. So then he's missing the whole point. And isn't that an easier way to do it? Then you just don't have to deal with other people at all. But the fact is, everybody has something to contribute to you, and that's the whole idea of Asasaf Rashi Am. This is one of the sentences in Hazina. We'll learn in a couple of weeks. In the gathering of the heads of the people, the head, this is the first thought of God. And Rosh Am, the heads of the people, this is the level of the first thought of God of all of the Jewish people. Shehem mit asfim, that they gather from the world. God gathers them up on Rosh HaShana, gathers them up from the world of separation. Shenaflu machshavtam, that their thought occurred to God. Liyotzeh poneh lakan. I'm sorry. Shenaflu machshavtam, that fell in their mind that one goes here and one goes there. And on Rosh Hashanah, everyone gathers together. And first of all, they were all separate. Everyone is different. Everyone's thinking about themselves and comparing themselves to everybody else. And on Rosh Hashanah, everyone starts to think about God and their source and how amazingly lucky they are just to be alive and to be existing. And it becomes the whole world, all the Jewish people become a private domain instead of a public domain, private domain to the oneness of God. Something like also the same thing, Shema Yisrael. When we say Shema Yisrael has the word Shema has a lot of meanings to it. One word means Shema means to listen. Another word Shema means to understand. Another word for Shema means to gather. Shema Yisrael, right? You have to listen. Jews means you have to gather the Jews. Like it says, here it says, Vayishma Shaul at Am. It says that King Saul gathered the people. The word for gathered is Vishama, that he did. So Shema Yisrael means gather all the Jewish people together. This means gathering all the sparks in the world on of all the Jews. That's Rosh HaShana. Says the Rebbe, this is in a general way. What about in the individual way? What are we supposed to do? How can we really achieve this? What is this idea of tshuva? What are we supposed to do to return to God? What does it mean to return? What are we supposed to do? I understand everybody else is supposed to do. They return to their source. Good, okay, but what am I supposed to do? Return to your source. What do you mean? Return to your source. Where is this? Where is it? I'm looking for it. I can't find. I think I'm okay the way I am. Where am I supposed to return to? Where to? What does it mean return? But why only on Rosh Hashanah? The Torah explains afterwards in the sentence. It says "La'avracha babris." It says to make you go through a covenant. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem la'avracha babris. Does it have that over here? 1 second. Let me see. 1 minute. No, kulchem. Let's maybe I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it here. Let's go. Atem nitzavim. Let's do it. Let's try it. Here we go. See atem ni. What's going on? I could forget my tzavim. Atem nitzavim. Well, let's see if we can get this. Here we go. Atem nitzavim. Here we go. Ready? Here we go. We got it. Here we go. Ready? Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem. You are all standing in front of God, your God. Your heads of the tribes, the elders, Ziknechem, Shotrechem, the police, all of the Jewish people, etc. Okay, then next sentence. Where is the next sentence? Tapchem, the children, the women, the dwellers, the converts that are among you, the choppers of wood, the drawing of water. Why? Here it goes. Ready? La'avracha babris, to pass you through a covenant with God, a bris and a curse, and that God made with you today. God is giving you conditions. Okay. Okay, what is this tshuva? Tshuva, it says what it says, that God is making a covenant with you. What does it mean to make a covenant? A covenant. Now, a covenant, we talked about this many times before. God made a brit with the Jewish people. A circumcision, by the way, the Jewish child when he's 8 days old, and if he doesn't do it then, he can do it anytime afterwards, is a circumcision. That's the brit. What's a brit mean? It's a covenant, a deep, deep, essential soul agreement between two people. Is a brit. A brit. You made a covenant between you and God. Let's say two people. Two people want to make a covenant. They used to have this thing where you cut your finger, you put blood, right, from your finger on the other person's finger, and you become one. Your blood is my blood is your blood. I never saw it done, but I heard people that have done this. A blood covenant. Blood covenant. What does it mean? The two things become one, but it's not just that become one, they become unconditionally one. That's the point. A brit means a covenant, a unification, which is unconditional. Unconditional. Just like two brothers, they can't stop being brothers. No matter what they do, they are brothers. Maybe they won't like each other, but they're still brothers. A brit means that even though you are not brothers, but you make an agreement to never stop liking one another. And they never stop being, how do you say, the unified. Each one thinks about the other one's interest. That's a brit, a true brit. A true brit. God made a covenant with us. A covenant means that I am giving you the power, Jewish people, unconditionally you will be my people. And I am also, that's your part. Also my part is I have guaranteed, and I'm always going to be your God. Always. It's a brit. It's an unconditional commitment to one another. That's just when you have two friends that they make a covenant between them that they should not never stop their love. If it was a thing that love depended on, if there was something that your love depended on, she'ilu haya davar she'ava taluya bo kayim la'ad lo yitzurchim kritat brit. If the reason that I have for a good friend, right? I have a good friend, and his name is Shmerel, and me and Shmerel decide we're good friends, and we decide, Shmerel, I want to make a covenant with you that we will always be friends for all time, always with them. So Shmerel can say, one second, what does that mean? For all time, unconditionally, no matter what happens, even if I do something bad to you, you do something bad to me, we're friends. So Shmerel says, I don't think so. It's not right. I mean, who knows what's going to be tomorrow? And let's just remain friends. Let's just remain friends for today, and we'll see what's going to be tomorrow. Okay, that's Shmerel. Comes along Beryl. Say, Beryl, you want to make a covenant with me? What does that mean? Unconditional love we have between. No matter what I do to you, no matter what you do to me, we're always going to be friends just like we are right now. Want to make a covenant? Yeah, let's do it. Because I know how things go. Sometimes people get mad at each other. Sometimes people do things that they doubt one another. Sometimes people do things that they hate one another, but we're not going to be like that. Even if there are things that should make me hate you, to make me angry at you, to make me doubt you, to make me this, nevertheless, I'm always going to remember this covenant, and we're always going to be friends. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm willing to do it. They make a covenant. Why do they make a covenant? Because at that moment when they make the covenant, they realize something essential about the other person. You are my friend. You are my soul and your soul are one. And I know how the world goes, right? And the world gives people reason to hate each other, to be separated from one another. And we're going to weather that storm. We're not going to pay attention to anything that might separate that awareness that we have now that we are soul brothers. What do you say? Yes, okay, I agree, right? The world is not going to affect us. Not going to affect us. That our love is going to be eternal. Our friendship will be eternal. Our brotherhood will be eternal. I love people because they're afraid. Maybe something will come along and stop this love from the outside. Some miniyah mibechutz from outside. Therefore, let us make a covenant so that we never lose this moment. We realize now this moment that you are a true 100% friend, genuine, trustworthy friend, and I am also your genuine, trustworthy friend. We love each other. We are brothers with each other. We're loyal to each other. Let's do it. We'll make a covenant because we know what's going to happen. But at that moment when they make the covenant, they know that it could be that there's going to be things that'll make us hate each other. It could be made this, and those things are false. We understand what the world is going. We understand what happens in the world. We understand how the world makes people crazy, and we're not going to pay attention to it. We're always going to remember, if I get mad at you, the covenant. If you hate me, covenant. That's all you say. Oh, that I'm mad at him. It's false. What's true? The covenant says. The aliyah decreases because they're afraid that maybe something will come to separate them by means of making this covenant. Then their love will be eternal, and it'll never move la'olam. Until shalo yifrodum shum miniyah, nothing will separate them from outside or inside. Hainu mipenei she'osim b'neiim, they make a attachment between them, a powerful attachment. V'chazak she's yachdu v'yitkashu b'havosam, they will be attached in their love. A kesher nifla, an eternal connection which is above tam v'dad, any reason. So they make this covenant between them, even if there comes 1,000 reasons to hate each other, they won't pay attention to it. Sha'av shall be tam v'das, even though according to logic, they should stop loving each other, or it should at least cause some, or even more, that it not at least, even more, that not only should they stop loving, but they should hate each other. But after they make this covenant, nothing in the world became machmas priest because of the covenant that they made. Muchrach liyod is necessary. They must have love forever. The ad called pesheim to the all and the sins that they do, yichas ha'ava will cover over love. Mekesher amitzeh lefisha bo bebrit, because they made a covenant. Vitkashrus ki'ilu nasa basar echad, and this pretty much disproves Freud and all those other the shallow, tremendously shallow human beings that say that there's nothing genuine in human personality. Everything you do it for yourself. Everything you do for yourself. It's all a result of your youth, of your desire to be standing in society, of your Oedipus complex, whatever it is. Everything a person does is selfish. And here is saying 100% not. 100% not. The things that you do that are selfish, that's not really you. That's not really you. There is such a thing as true love, true friendship, true unity, true honesty. Above any conditions, above anything, you're not doing it for yourself. It could be you lose. And here's the example. You make a covenant with somebody, and now all of a sudden you have 1,000 reasons to regret what you did. Wow, I shouldn't have done it. He's not, but I made a covenant. And at that second I made a covenant, I was sure 100% that it's true. And that this person is going against me, whatever, he must have gone crazy, or must have something like that. But I know that moment was a moment of truth. There's something which is above any considerations of myself. I, so to speak, throw myself into this covenant that I made. Just like you can't stop this love, a person can't stop loving himself. Also, the same thing, you can't stop loving your friend. And therefore, this is called kritat brit. It's called cutting a covenant. Like it says, Asher kortu egel, the ya'avru. Just like it says that with Abraham, it says that they made a covenant with God, a brit bein batarim. It says he took the animal, whatever it was. God said makes like a covenant. They took the animal, slaughtered it, and cut it into two. They put one side here and one side there, and then they passed between. It says that the presence of God and Abraham passed between. It says that's bein batarov, and they passed between batar of the pieces. In other words, liot shneim ovrim betoch guf echad. Both of them went between these two pieces of this calf, whatever they sacrificed, to show that just like one side of the calf is not whole with the other, so I'm not whole without you. Okay, all this example we said, God does us every Rosh HaShana. It says, Anochi creates breeze, neged kol anchoas, and he flows. God said this to Moses after he forgave them for the sin of the golden calf. God said, I'm going to make a covenant with you. Even if the Jewish people worship the golden calf again, nevertheless, I'm never going to wipe them out. Like it says with David and Yonatan. It was niflata avatecha, that their love between David and Yonatan was infinitely higher than any physical considerations. By means of the 13 attributes of mercy that Moses drew down, there is, so to speak, made a covenant and an attachment, God, with the Jewish people. That's what happened after the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf. Worst sin possible in the world. They heard directly from God not to worship idols, and they did it. And God said, okay, I'll forgive them. And you know what? I'll forgive them for anything they do in the future. And here's the reason why. 13 attributes of mercy. That's my true essence. And I know the essence of every Jew is also to be one with me. Therefore, this is this love, v'salachta. The sins will not be separating. So that's the essence of a Jew, and that's what it means to do tshuva. Doing tshuva means you go back to your true identity. Who are you? I am a Jew. I have a mother, I have a father, I have an identity, I have a nationality, I have an IQ, I have an identity card, I have all of this. That's all true, but that's not my true identity. What I do is not my identity. What I think, what I say, what I've done in the past, that's not the real me. The real me is this brit, connecting to the essence of God. The whole reason of creation, that's me. No matter what a Jew does, no matter what he says, no matter what happened, he connects himself to this thing, and he realizes that all of the sins that he's done are just mistakes. And to a certain degree, this is true of every human being. To a certain degree, every human being essentially is good. And this whole business of you're sinning and you got to be absolved from your sin, you got to be saved, it's a big lie. It's a huge, huge, terrible, awful lie. The truth is that everybody essentially is good, but especially the Jewish people. The Jewish people have a different type of good, totally different type of good, a total oneness. They're sons of God, true unity with the essence of God. And on Rosh HaShana, everyone realizes it, and everyone realizes how lucky they are to have it, and that they're all exactly the same, That's the unity of Rosh Hashanah, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.